Welcome D20 players. This is some DM tips for Phandelver Chapter 7, the penultimate chapter of this adventure. We're nearing the end. I've been playing it for almost a year now. I'm excited to get to the end. The project lead for this one is Amanda Hammond. There'll be spoilers in this video, so if you're a player, please go play the adventure and then come back and let us know how it went in the comments. The plot for the adventure has the player characters discovering a passage beneath the town of Phandalin. So the party's starting back here in Phandalin after having explored all the locations under Telhundereth and found an indication that the mind flayers are right below the town. When the party comes back to the town's starting to transform. You'll want to be using the stuff from the Far Realm Influence, the transformation of Phandalin. You would have wanted to start this in Chapter 5. I don't think I spoke to that in my DM tips for that. Chapter 6, Chapter 7, by this time, invasive fleshy weeds are growing like tentacles along Phandalin's buildings and streets. The townspeople are developing strange symptoms. The characters can be developing strange symptoms as well. The transformation effects of Stage 3 by this time. Things such as the character develops an unwanted craving, such as for raw meat, spoiled food, insects, etc. So you can start tailoring that to your group and having that kind of permeate the adventure for you. So the party gets to Phandalin, and when they do, there are some crazed villagers being impacted by this contagion that's spreading. There's an encounter there. It's not that difficult, so I would just kind of narrate what the party sees and encounters there. They shouldn't have any real difficulty overcoming that. But they should quickly find the passageway that leads down below the town of Phandalin. So Tunnels of the Deep. Now I took this map and I kind of blew it up, such that one square was 10 feet, and then I use the maps here from Heroic Maps. You can see how beautiful these things look for the different locations as the party descends down into the deep. The party's going to discover maybe a few villagers as they descend down, and they can rescue those. And then when they reach eventually the end of these tunnels, they're going to come to a place called Illithinoch. This is a mind flayer redoubt. It's beautifully illustrated here by Heroic Maps. It is teeming with mind flayers, some psionic goblins, some nothics, even some nothics that have mind flayer capabilities, mind blast capabilities. There's an elder brain in there. The party's going to find that the mind flayer fanatics have already escaped through a gateway, and this is the gateway here in Area 16. The party will be able to determine that they have to find some way to collect some keys that will open that gate back up for them. And the keys rest in these different areas like the eyes and the spawn and the feeder areas that the party will have to explore to get the keys to advance. There's quite a bit of knowledge that can drop here. There are some scratches on the cages where the human prisoners have been kept. There is a mind flayer experimenter called Ahooshathan who can share some information that'll be useful to the party. You want to read up on that. There is an unfinished prayer book up here in the room of a mind flayer prophet, and I would recommend moving that mind flayer prophet actually into the room of the elder brain to make that encounter a little bit more difficult for the party. There is Oshundo, the Alhoon, over here, kind of just sitting in his chair. He can share some information. And then finally, one of the fanatics left behind some writings, the fanatic Voalsh left some writings behind in this chamber here. So you'll want to gather all that information together, have it kind of set aside so you can share it with the party as the party's exploring the redoubt. That's the plot for the adventure. Let's look at the challenge. So the character's going to be level 9 in this adventure. I would have total CR of opponents be in about 23 to get a good deadly encounter. So you're going to want like the highlights, the Climactic encounters to be around that level. And to that tune, of course, the infected townspeople we talked about before. I do this with my maps a lot. You can send this to back. The party can find the tunnel that goes down into the earth in that chamber there. Okay, when they come to the tunnels, there are some random encounters. Random encounters are not that difficult. You can play the long game of attrition with them, but I like to kind of bring them together into the party can come to the Grell Caves where they can rescue some villagers. But at the same time that the party's fighting the Grell, I'll have a wandering encounter, the Barlgura encounter with the troglodytes, and I'll bump it up to maybe 2 Barlguras, 8 troglodytes, have them come in as the party's distracted, have the troglodytes attack from behind the party, have the Barlguras who have the ability to become invisible, go and try and rend these villagers limb from limb and eat them while the fight's going on. And that was a scary encounter. That was a good one. Then the chamber here with the Behir. And this is a good reason why I beefed up the size of these encounters, to give the Behir some room. At the same time, I brought in the Fomorian wandering monster encounter into that. I wouldn't have him be there right away, but I'd have him maybe get attracted by the sound of the battle. You know, the thunderous echoes of the Behir's lightning breath might attract him in. So that makes that encounter all a little bit more difficult. And then in these bubbling pools here, and finally the Cloaker Mutate, I brought in some hook horrors into this chamber called the, the Hooked Stones Chamber. So that I thought they fit. Beef that up. So these guys are challenge rating, for example, 3. There's 4 of them, so there's 12. And this guy is challenge rating 10, so there's 22. So that brings a good climactic end to the wanderings of the party into the dark. Then probably for session 2, you're going to be coming into Illithinoch. And for that one, I think the real climactic battle is going to be the brain. And then a secondary climactic battle might be one of these different areas. So I would, on the fly, maybe beef one of these up to get it up to a challenge rating close to 23. Maybe put a couple of the Oculorbs instead of just one. Maybe put some more Grell, even a Psychic Grell or more of those. And maybe bring in some more of the slaad. And this particular encounter, I brought in an extra slaad, red slaad. It's only CR5, so that's only 10. These little tadpoles are only 1/8, and I raised them from 12 to 16. Still not that hard to encounter unless the gray slaad comes in at the same time. But if it's near the end of a session, I make it the climactic battle, you can kind of bring in a little bit, bring them all together that way. Next we have pacing. So we talked about pacing a little bit. You have the shadow over Phandalin. You have the journey through the deep. That'd probably be session 1. Illithinoch probably be session 2, and then the different Far Realm rifts be session 3. You play kind of fast. A more relaxed pace might give you a couple more sessions out of this adventure. It's a pretty big adventure, obviously. You can also pad it with more NPC interactions, with more wandering monsters, if you want to get more time out of it. The maps, these maps are all by Heroic Maps. You can find that on the Dungeon Masters Guild. The images I use, I brought those all out of the adventure. So as the party's exploring, it's all this really kind of gross artwork here. The music you can hear right now playing is Mind Flayer Chamber. I would use, I'll put this in the description below as well, Country Village for Phandalin, Cave of Time for the Journey Through the Deep, Mind Flayer Chambers for Illithinoch, Bubbling Pools for the Feeder Trenches, Abyssal Gaze for the Fleshy area, Puzzle Dungeon for the Labyrinth of Eyes, and then for the end, back to Mind Flayer. Tokens, I'll put some of those in. I'll put links down below for the tokens I use special for this adventure. Things like this guy, Oshundo. I made him for the adventure. I think I made the Elder Rain for the adventure. Yeah, for the adventure. I think the Mind Flayer Prophet. So you'll be able to grab those. They'll be in the description below as well. Knowledge checks. I like to do knowledge checks ahead of time so that the party can naturally reveal the stuff they know. So the one knowledge check for this one might be about Ilvash. Ilvash is who, in the end, the party is going to be after. It was formed from the remains of the Mind Flayer god Ilsensign, god brain, and when Ilsensign left the Far Realm to establish the divine domain elsewhere, pieces of him sloughed away and awoke to sentience, and Ilvash is one of those pieces, also known as the Dissonant Psyche, the final boss for this whole campaign, and the party's going to start to see glimpses of that now. That's it. That's my DM tips for this adventure. Please like, subscribe, comment, tip, tell a friend. I'll leave you with another great video to check out. Thank you very much for watching.